Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Cardano Community Podcast. Today we have Garry Golden. Garry, welcome.
Pleasure to be here with you.
Yes, thank you. Garry, you're a futurist. And I was wondering, like when I saw that, I was like, a futurist. How would you define a futurist? What is that? And how did you get into it? How did you become a futurist?
Yeah, it's a job title it's a loaded term, isn't it?
Yeah.
So basically what I do is I help organizations bring more structure and discipline in thinking about long-term change, right? So I typically work with leadership teams, often in a workshop setting, and help them, find more nuance and clarity in terms of like that inbound change. I don't come into an environment and try to act like I'm an expert in their industry. I'm really focused on that outside-in change coming toward them. Yeah. And I work across a pretty wide range of industries, from energy, pharmaceuticals, financial services. And I got into it, as a young person, I was always interested in social change, right? Like, how does society change? How do social norms evolve? And at some point became fascinated with space tourism. That was like my big thing. Like, when are humans going to go into space? Yeah. And through that, I saw the word futurist, and I was like, that's what I want to become. And about 15 years ago, I attended and graduated from a program in future studies from the University of Houston. So there are a few programs across the world that are academic graduate school programs that train futurists, to go out and work with clients in the real world. So it's a passionate journey, but it's backed by an academic foundation.
Wow, that's because for me, this is like the very first time that I've heard of a futurist. So just hearing you now saying that it's actually an official title. It's not something that you made up or so.
You can make it up. There are a lot of people that just say they are futurists, right? They're just passionate about change in the future, and they call themselves a futurist. But if you look at like practitioners, people that get paid in a client setting, it's probably several hundred people around the world that we would call professional futurists. Yeah.
Yeah. But not much.
Not many. Yeah, I mean, the market's fairly niche. The demand is somewhat cyclical, but I have lots of colleagues around the world who do quite well and do good work with their clients.
But if I heard you correct, right? I mean, you're being, let's say, brought in by many different industries. So that means that there must be a demand, or let's say, for people like yourselves.
Yeah, so typically you're brought in often by the head of the company, because that person looks out and they see uncertainty beyond a certain period of time, let's say 3 years. Or let's say someone from kind of HR, learning and development, or strategy. And my function is to really make that leadership team feel a little bit uncomfortable. Right? That, we're going to talk about concepts like blockchain. Like, everyone in the room has heard the word blockchain. Yes. But if you take a typical senior leadership team, their knowledge on blockchain is kind of dinner table conversation level, right? They don't go into the depths of understanding implications. Yes. So, my function is really just to stretch them to add more color, add more nuance to these big trends that most people already see.
Yeah. So then you kind of you try to make them aware of, let's say, of what's coming, basically.
Yeah, and really, what I think I do well is I understand the client level implications. It's one thing to talk about broad changes in the world in some future time horizon, but really being able to understand, what does an organization, what does a business do that's most impacted from these changes? So it's as much as understanding the client as it is the external world.
The external world. But your focus is more, let's say, from the outside in. So let's say in terms of blockchain, I think it's safe to say that blockchain is here to stay. So this, let's say, social change, what impact that's going to have on their company.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. So I mean, obviously, you know, how this conversation came to be is all, of course, all about Cardano, right?
Yeah.
And I remember I saw on the 30th of I have it here in front of me, the tweet you actually made, and there was a tweet from IOHK, and you replied to it. You said here, Cardano's next step on incentivized staking testnets. This is a long game. Cardano team has taken a sane, steady, transparent, and methodical approach. There is no rush, no need to oversell crypto. Find a solid community and get involved at any level. For me, it's Cardano. That was your tweet.
Yeah.
And when I read it, it was like, I got to speak to this guy. Now, the thing is, I have been following you for a while, right? Because I know that you're very close with Sean.
Yes.
Right. You guys organized the meetup a couple months ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So Sean, Geoff and I are you know, kind of the primary organizers of the New York City, one of the New York City Cardano meetups.
Yeah. And so when I saw that, I'm like, hey, wait a second. Okay, he's affiliated, obviously, you know, with Sean. He's very much, you know, let's say sound on Cardano. I have to speak to this guy because I have to get a breakdown on what he's saying here. So can you give me a breakdown? What do you mean when you say, you know, Cardano team has taken a sane, steady, transparent, and methodical approach? Can you break that down for me, Lou?
Yeah. So, you know, I think they're all the same thing, like sane, steady, transparent. Those are all this. It's the same way to describe whatever it is Cardano's doing, right? For me, it's very important when you look at the future of crypto and blockchain to you know, sift through that signal versus noise and to get out of this like to the moon mindset and get out of this like we're going to disrupt everybody mindset. And develop a nuanced long view. Yeah. So for me, what Cardano has done is bring kind of sanity in that there are people around Cardano that overhype Cardano, but if you listen to anybody within the core, you know, leadership community from Emurgo, the foundation, et cetera, nobody hypes. No. Everybody takes a sane, tempered view. And I think that they recognize that you can disrupt the world without being ideological. You can disrupt the world while working with governments. You can disrupt the world while wanting to work with institutions, right? I'm all about, you know, the disruptive spirit of, you know, transformational change, but we are not going to scale crypto and blockchain without working with incumbents. So for me, that's just sanity. And just one final piece, the focus of Cardano from the beginning on people has been above and beyond anything in the crypto space, right? And I love Bitcoin, I love Ethereum, but that, you know, Charles and Ken went out there and found the academic institutions with the right people, and they brought them in. Was the right foundation for the project, rather than some programmer that barely understands cryptography or game behavior, theory, and is working in some coffee shop in Brooklyn. Yeah. Right? Yeah. That focus on people has been key for me.
The team has, how do you say, they haven't received as much credit for this as they should, if you ask me.
No, but that's just kind of the dynamic of the expectations from the people that just want to get rich. creeping into the conversation. I mean, anybody, and you could go way back, to the early stages. Anybody that was criticizing the white paper culture of IOHK, they were no longer on my radar, right? There is just, again, I have full respect for Ethereum and many projects within that ecosystem, but if you really understand the breadth of the crypto blockchain space, there is no doubt that Cardano is in a completely different league from every other project. And it baffles me that there is not more attention from even the crypto media worlds, because they're all chasing these stories. And there are good projects of VE Chain. Like, there's lots of good stuff out there, but nobody has built the foundation that Cardano has built. Nobody.
No, that's correct.
Nobody has taken the scientific, the formal methods. Nobody has even come close. And it really is just puzzling to me that it doesn't get as much recognition. I don't care about the haters, the people like, Wen Moon, but that it hasn't received the credit is, it's beyond me. I just can't, I don't get it.
No, I fully agree with you. I fully agree with you. Let's go to the second part there, because in your tweet you also mentioned them being transparent. You care to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah. So for me, this is there's formal transparency in terms of your GitHubs and all that stuff and your white papers. There's that formal transparency, which again I think is kind of second to none. And then there's the cultural transparency that's really all about Charles, right? This is all about the AMAs. And, again, name another leader in the crypto space that has as many AMAs as Charles, right? And when things get delayed, when things get pushed back, he's transparent about it. And, my only wish is that he would just ignore the trolls. Stop feeding the trolls. You're being transparent. It's hard. This is a long game. When things are delayed, we know. So I think that there's a formal transparency, and then I think there's that like cultural side of the community that Charles has really just given his heart and soul in through the AMAs. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned before, right, that you don't understand why. I mean, a lot of these other projects receive the a lot of recognition and let's say applause, by certain media, crypto media, etc. And we haven't seen them do the same for Cardano. Now, the thing is, if you indeed look at Charles and you kind of like analyze all of those AMAs that he's been doing, and not only them, because we've also seen from the community a lot of things coming. We've also seen the foundation doing a lot of work. We've also seen Emurgo doing a lot of work as well, right? Yeah. I do not understand how is it possible that the media have not yet picked up on a project that is pushing so many information out there.
Yeah.
How is that possible? I mean, is there kind of like a bias? Are they biased in any way, shape, or form? I don't get it.
But yes. Yeah.
But never got it through.
Yeah. So it's almost, and first let me you just build off of what like Sebastian's videos, like they're Philippe, Rick, Barry back in the day, right? Like the transparency, the official messages, the updates. It's just nothing but quality. Why has the crypto media been chasing other stories? It's this kind of, if it bleeds, it leads mentality. We want to hear about the accelerating story of crypto because we need eyeballs on those blogs. We need people talking about things, even if it's premature to be talking about them. And I think that media world has been looking at Cardano and just kind of being like, you're not giving us enough juice. You're not giving us enough drama. Fine by me. I mean, how many industries, kind of disruptive categories of change, if you look back, there's always that like front runner brand trying to change everything, but really behind the scenes, there are 3 or 4 organizations that have like industry backing, incumbent backing, or like real teams being assembled. And at the end of that, marathon, that initial, hyped up company is nowhere to be seen, right? For me, it's been about the direction of change, not the speed of change, the direction. And Cardanos had it.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about besides the direction, right? And I think you view things from let's say from your professionalism, right? Your professional mindset as a futurist. Then,
yeah.
What about this project actually attracts you?
So, well, just the vision of building a decentralized financial stack for the world is, who doesn't want that?
Yeah, but that's it, because Ethereum had this thing of become the world computer.
Yeah.
So they also had this very big dream, very great big aspirations, and so I'm not hearing anything different from Cardano.
Well, I think because it's a somewhat shared vision across the blockchain space. I mean, people want to, think big in terms of decentralization and interoperability and shifting the controls on power and all that stuff. Yeah. So, that there's a world computer vision historically with Ethereum. I bought it. I love that. That's great. And again, I got nothing but love for the spirit of Ethereum, right? Yeah. But it's if you've watched Cardano, it's like forget about Wall Street. They went to Mongolia, right? They went to Sub-Saharan Africa. The Emurgo went into Indonesia, in India. They're working in the Philippines behind the scenes.
Yeah.
They're establishing the geopolitical framework of the 21st century. And look, Mongolia may not work out. The Pan-African strategy may fall short, but they're trying. Yeah. They're trying. Yeah. And it's like, forget about trying to disrupt Wall Street by attacking them. Go to that kind of, blue ocean space and invest in the people, right? Look at what Emurgo has done. Look at what IOHK did with training. It's like they're investing in people, and then that localization strategy, or that's the industry's always localization. Yeah, it's nowhere else. No other project has that.
No, I totally agree with you. Going to I think when did they start? I think they started in the Bahamas, right, or Barbados, one of those countries, and then from there, I guess they went to Greece. They trained a lot of people there, and then from Greece they went to correct me, Ethiopia, and then to Mongolia, Georgia. I agree with you 100% that investing in people, there's where the real change comes from. Secondly, I think one of the things that would, let's say, secure the blockchain in terms of anyone wanting to fork, because I remember Matty Greenspan said, "I'm going to tell you something." He said, "When Cardano is ready, someone will fork it." What sense would it make for anyone to fork Cardano, right? I mean, there's no incentive. There's no incentive of doing that if, let's say, if the original system already has all of these partnerships, running on it. Yeah. Governments, businesses, etc.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, and good on them. If people want to splinter out and try to do, good on you, and we'll see. But no, it's and the fundamental philosophy of Cardano also is interoperability, right? I mean, they've said all along, like, if something comes along in 10 years, it's a better consensus algorithm, or better this and that. Great, right? Cardano does not have they have a foundation view, and then everything above that, it's just like interoperability integration.
Yeah.
They don't need to rule the world.
So from a futuristic point of view, they've been thinking ahead of the game.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They have been the most forward oriented groups. They're not chasing the headlines, they're not chasing the the valuation. I mean, there was a little bit crazy back in the day, but for the most part, it's like, why should it be worth billions of dollars? Hasn't done anything yet. So why are we, there's no need to complain about, price. It's like, prove it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Prove it.
Prove it first, and then we can talk about price.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and I share, Philippe is one of the big, proponents of this. Like, I want to live in this ecosystem. I've put considerable, and not financial advice. I am an investor. I don't think about it at all. I want to live in I want to buy airline tickets, pay for hotels. I want to live in that ecosystem, and I have no intention of living in that ecosystem probably until the, early 2030s. Like, it's going to take, there are going to be projects, there's going to be supply chain things, there's going to be some movement, the amount of value in the network will continue to grow. This is a multi-decade long effort.
Well said.
People got to grow up. They got to grow up, and they got to realize this is a long game. And all that hard work that we got to now put in, I mean, got to get through this staking, got to get governance, and then you got to get the developers.
Yeah.
And you got to get adoption.
Yeah. And I think that's
10 years.
That brings us basically to the last point that you mentioned. That's the methodical approach. You care to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah. So methodical approach is understanding steps, sequences. Right? Methodical is, I'm going to do A, B, C, D. I'm not going to jump to D. I got to have A in place. And, again, you look at what, Emurgo, Ken and his team have done. There's certainly a crazy technical development going on, and, Yoroi and all this stuff. But for them, the sequence was get the right people. Right. And you look who they were hiring, largely Japanese company hiring people from Korea. Right. Hiring people from America. Like, he was going out at the beginning. He was sequencing his steps to build out the proper organization. And IOHK, peer review. Then we're going to do this. Methodical is just, steps, stages, and sequence. And they understand it. And they're not going to, they're not going to skip something at the risk of speed.
No. So they're keeping to their principles, basically, development principles.
Yeah.
That's it. Nice.
Yeah.
Garry, I just for the sake of time, we only have a couple minutes left, right?
Sure.
But if there's anything you would like anyone watching this episode, right, to take away, what would that be?
That it's like the hard work now begins. Right?
Yeah.
It's comical if you watch, look at the Reddits, you look at I'm not in Telegrams anymore because it's just like, oh, these people are driving me crazy.
Oh, tell me about that.
It's just so much drama. Like, oh, when this, when that. It's like, you gotta understand that now is the start of the game. All that heavy lifting by IOHK, Emurgo, and now the foundation. It's like, we're now about to kick off the game. So it's like hard work. And I think what the Cardano, and this is like full on credit to you and all these people that are just rising up globally around this Cardano community. Like, it's getting super tight. These relationships right now are getting really tight. I was, on the Philippe's chat last night. It was like, this community is starting to get really tight, And we don't need thousands and thousands of people. We need less than 1,000 people to bust their ass and to get out the relationships and start talking to incumbents, start talking to government officials. We need to get the best developers. Like, it's such a small core group of this global community that's going to turn it on. So I just think everyone needs to know, like, hard work begins now.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Nice. Gary, thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you.
on,
Thanks for all the work you do
with us. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. You know, as of course, on behalf of everyone of the team, you know, we perhaps something very interesting that you might like to know as well. We haven't. So basically, you're the first to hear this. We haven't communicated that officially, but we have a very big African focus on the podcast. Great. So you know, with the pan-African focus of Cardano, we've decided to actually reach out to a lot of people within Africa and try to build out the community. So basically, what you've seen IOHK, Emurgo, and the foundation doing with all of these partnerships and MOUs, etc. Now we're doing it, but then on our own, let's say on our own level, by let's say partnering with people on the ground. You know, so we've partnered with some ambassadors, you know, who is actually living in Africa. One is from Rwanda, the other one is from Nigeria, and now we're partnering with a student who's studying law in Nigeria as well. So basically, what we're trying to do is just, you know, expand the network as much as possible, because basically the vision, the idea behind all of these partnerships that we're doing is I can tap into someone else's network, you know, because so let's say you are part of your own personal network, right? And you can reach out to your network, and someone from within that network is also part of their own unique network. So basically, it's like this ripple effect that we're trying to create with the with all of these partnerships that we're doing. So as you mentioned, the community has to, you know, fire that up as well into their parts. And I think that's things that I would really love to see happening more and more throughout the community, that people start partnerships. And there's also Proof of Africa, a stake pool, actually that actually came about because of, let's say, through the podcast, they came together. Let's put it that way. You know, people came together and started this Proof of Africa stake pool. It's in the make. So we'll be hearing more from that as soon as everything is launched and ready and secure and up and running.
That's great. And maybe just, and I know we go eye on the clock, but one, you know, this is the macro futurist lens. There's a concept called the demographic dividend, right? And, you know, economists will debate this, the validity of it. Essentially, the dividend, the payout that a society receives in terms of kind of prosperity and growth, related to when a large group, a cohort, a generation goes through those working age years of their lives, right? So they're young now in the population pyramid, then they have kids and they're working, they're getting promoted, they're building businesses, and then they age. The demographic dividend of the 21st century is Africa. It's sub-Saharan Africa, right? Wow. All of the population growth, all of the young minds that are, you know, educated, working, thinking about innovation and broad social change, all of that demographic dividend potential is in basically one region. You know, South Asia's got it now. They're kind of the, you know, the growth. But that demographic dividend is for me where Cardano needs to align to. Right?
I fully agree.
I love it. I lived in the 90s. I lived in India and Nepal, so I have a South Asian bent in my, you know, orientation. But you know, in New York, I have many friends, you know, from born and largely raised in Africa, and it's so exciting right now. The stories they share of their friends doing businesses and setting up organizations, it's clearly there's something happening in a big way. So it's great.
Nice.
Good for you.
Nice. I again, thanks a lot, for coming on the show there, Garry. And I really hope, to speak to you again in a couple months. Looking forward to that.
Looking forward to it as well. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.